It's presidential, the outcome evidential. We strive for higher mental. This time, no accidental. We shine because we special. No Kim, Khalid.
Miraculous day to you. It is always a miraculous day here over at the Read, Remember, Repeat Studios. And we kicking the show off, showing some love. Yes, sir. A shout out to my guy Fab, right? Because he's an author. He put out a book. It's called A Legend of Hades. And it's about a kid who grew up in the streets. Or growing up in the streets is like hell to us. So it's a kid that grew up in hell. I salute him for throwing out, knowledge to the culture and giving us this good read to sit back and get in our zen with. And my guy definitely has his shop ready to go. He has his Indie War merch. So he's not just putting out books. I'm talking about black-owned business here. You know what I mean? Entrepreneurs really going out and going to go get it. Get you some Indie War drip. You know what I mean? Text him. He's a good guy, and you never know. Type Read, Remember, Repeat. You might get you a little discount. And family, it is an honor for me to promote to you guys the Think and Grow Rich movie, because I'm telling you guys, this right here will change the way you look at things. And this has changed the way millions and millions of people has been looking at things. All you got to do, go to YouTube and you type up Think and Grow Rich full movie, and 2021 it should pop up. You should see it. It's probably like the first one there. A young Napoleon Hill took it upon himself to study and interview the most wealthiest men and give it to us in this body of work.
I think about mind, body, and spiritual, like leaving something going.
Hey man, shout out to I Am Mastery Academy. That's the academy that's teaching people how to learn and earn on the go, teaching people how to invest and be on the right side of money. Shout out to Doc Spills and all the educators over there that's teaching people, whether it's levels, colors, harmonics, with simply teaching people how to learn and invest. And you can just match your colors. That's what we learned from day one. So get with me. That's at Read, Remember, Repeat, or at Big MUGGA. Those are my Instagrams. And let's get this money, family. Read, remember, repeat. Welcome, everybody. I'm welcoming everybody back to the show with the books Read, Remember, Repeat, and it is your host with the most, Michael Boyd. You already know. If you don't know me, it's MUGGA Boy. But yeah, man, we are back, right? Another fresh week. Today is Monday. I'm feeling good. I hope everybody else is feeling good, man. That's what it's about, man. The feeling is in the secret. We don't have the physical book again. We have the PDF, so you guys can read the physical copy, or you can get the PDF. But what we on right now is that 50 Cent Hustle Harder, Hustle Smarter. I just was watching BMF and Power the other day. 50 is crazy, man. He made like a whole breakdown universe of his whole, operation on stars. And man, that's elite, you know what I mean? So this is why we in the book, to get some of the source from 50, and hopefully we could apply it for ourselves, you know what I mean? Let's jump right into it. This is certainly true of many of the people I've been associated with over the years, even my own son. What they need to understand, and what I want to relay to you in this chapter as well, is that you should never feel like the world owes you anything. It doesn't. There's no version of hustling harder or smarter that involves relying on the assumption that someone is going to do anything for you. You must accept that it is all on you. That might seem like a very cynical way to view the world, but I would argue that it's actually liberating. You can only feel betrayal when you feel like you're owed something from someone. You can only feel resentment when you had expectations for assistance. When you accept that it's all on you, only then can you finally be free to focus 100% on being the best version of yourself. The 20-year vacation. When I first got together with Shaniqua, neither of us had much. We were both living in what we perceived to be the bottom. Our goals didn't extend much past having a decent place to stay and fresh clothes to wear. Then my situation changed and I suddenly had resources at my disposal, a lot of resources, and I wanted to share them with Shaniqua. We weren't together anymore, but she was the mother of my son. She was with me before the fame, and I acknowledged and respected that. She saw me rise, and I wanted to help her find her own success. With that in mind, I would ask her, what you want to do with your life? Did she want to go to school? Did she want to learn interior design, fashion? I kept asking her to identify the occupation that would provide her with some kind of purpose that could provide both wealth and personal satisfaction. Not only would this be good for her personally, but I also wanted our son to be raised by someone who had a career of her own. But no matter how many times I asked, Shaniqua never had an answer for me. I bring up different possibilities and scenarios, but there was never a connection. It was incredibly frustrating. I didn't like sending a check every month to someone who didn't seem to have any interest in working. She might as well have been on welfare back in the hood. The only difference here was that she was getting a bigger check from the man she would have from Uncle Sam. It finally came to a head one day when I was visiting her in Marquise one weekend. So, what you want to do? I asked her once again. She just looked at me, rolled her eyes, and said, ain't nobody work if they don't have to. Oh shit, I sputtered. I suspected people thought that way, but no one had ever been ill enough to actually say it out loud in front of me. You already did it, she said firmly, so why should I have to do it too? I'm good. I don't mean to sound dramatic, but it was one of the most shocking conversations of my life, and I've had a lot of conversations people would consider shocking. I am extremely serious about the value of hard work. I believe it creates not only success, but happiness too. You can never feel satisfied if you're not applying yourself to something you're passionate about. When Shaniqua said, ain't nobody work if they don't have to, it was like she was dismissing everything I believed in. At that moment, I knew things would never be right between us. We just saw the world in different ways. I was disgusted that she didn't want to work, and she was disgusted that I thought she should. I understand that she had the responsibility of raising our son largely on her own. I tried to apply less pressure on her when he was younger because of that, but once he was in his teens and didn't need someone holding his hand every second, I hoped Shaniqua would finally start to show some ambition. There was a period where she made some noise about getting into real estate. I thought that was a great idea. Atlanta was a growing market, and I offered to pay for the classes. She would need to get her license, but after a few months, it was clear the passion wasn't there. She wasn't excited walking into a house for the first time and envisioning all the possibilities for it, or by taking an older property, fixing it up, and flipping it for a profit. She just liked that being a real estate agent was something you could do from home. Of course, nothing ever happened. Looking back, I can see that the moment when Shaniqua said, ain't nobody work if they don't have to, is when our relationship hit the point of no return. Family, I'm going to hit y'all with some sauce, and we're going to get right back.
Let me share with you two of the best sources of information available. First, as we have mentioned, learn from your own experiences. Become a good student of your own life. It's the information you are most familiar with and feel the strongest about. So make your own life one of your most important studies. And in studying your own life, be sure to study the negative as well as the positive, your failures as well as your successes. Our so-called failures serve us well when they teach us valuable information. They're frequently better teachers than our successes. One of the ways we learn how to do something right is simply by doing it wrong. Doing it wrong is a great school for learning. Now I would suggest that you not take too long. If you've done it wrong for 10 years, I wouldn't suggest another 10. But what a close at hand and emotionally impactful way to learn from your own experiences. When I met Mr. Schoaf, I had been working 6 years. I started when I was 19, and when I met him, I was 25. He said to me, Mr. Rohn, you have been working now for 6 years. How are you doing? I said, not very well. He said, then I suggest you not do that anymore. 6 years is long enough to operate the wrong plan. Next he asked, how much money have you saved in the last 6 years? I said, not any. He said, who sold you on that plan 6 years ago? What a fantastic question. Where did I get my present plan that wasn't working well? Hey, everyone has bought someone's plan. The question is, whose? Whose plan have you bought? Now, those initial confrontations as you come to grips with your own past experiences may be a little painful at first, especially if you have made as many errors as I did. But think of the progress you can make when you have finally confronted those errors by becoming a better student, of your own life. Now, the next way to learn is from other people's experiences. And remember, you can learn from other people whether they have done it right or wrong. You can learn from negative as well as positive. The Bible is such a great book because it is a collection of human stories on both sides of the ledger. One list of human stories is called examples. Do what these people did. And the other list of human stories is called warnings. Don't do what these clods did. What a wealth of information. What to do and what not to do. I think it also means, however, that if your story ever gets in somebody's book, make sure they use it as an example, not a warning. There are 3 ways to learn from other people. The first is to listen to the cassettes and read the books by and about people who've accomplished great things. All the successful people I know and work with around the world are good readers. They just read. They are so curious that they are driven to read because they just have to know. It is one of the things they all have in common.
And we are back, family. Up until then, I had visions that we could still fashion some sort of partnership. Maybe not romantically, but at least as parents with a common goal. A business we could start that would benefit our son down the road. When it was clear that she not only did not share that vision, but was actually offended by it, my attitude toward her completely changed. I became petty. It was as if I were a fitness buff and she was obese. Every time she picked up another proverbial cookie, I'd be like, damn, you really need that cookie? It's just gonna go straight to your hips. I was barely conscious of it, but I was being mean in the hope it would embarrass her into some sort of action. It had the opposite effect though. The more I homed in on her lack of hustle, the more she began to resent me. The resentment kept building up between us until it matured into hate. A hate that's still present to this day. What's upsetting isn't just that our relationship has become so toxic, but that she passed that sense of resentment and entitlement along to our son. He'd been given every advantage in the world, far beyond most kids in the ghetto, but he still feels like he's been somehow cheated or robbed by me. It's a scenario I never imagined I'd find myself in with my firstborn child, but here we are. Entitlement creates resentment. There have been a lot of disappointment moments in my relationship with Marquise over the past few years, but the lowest was when I saw him post a picture of himself with Kyle McGriff, the son of Kenneth Supreme McGriff. Without rehashing too much bad history, Kenneth McGriff was one of the biggest drug dealers in Queens, and the man the authorities believe was behind the attempt on my life. So by posing with his son, Marquise was basically co-signing the individual who might have tried to have killed his father. I had known Marquise resented me for a while, but I never imagined that he could hate me so much that he'd allow himself to be used as a prop by my enemy. Someone recently sent me a quote from Benjamin Franklin that really resonated with me. Franklin's son had sided with the British in the Revolutionary War. Despite the fact that his father was one of the leaders of the Revolutionary, it messed with Ben Franklin for the rest of his life. Nothing has ever hurt me so much and affected me with such keen sensations as to find myself deserted in my old age by my only son, and not only deserted, but to find him taking up arms against me in a cause wherein my good fame, fortune, and life were all at stake. Marquise might not have been literally taking up arms against me, but he was standing next to the son of someone who might have. I could recognize Franklin's pain. I've spent a lot of time searching my soul, trying to understand what could make a son forsake his own father like that. I've tried to put myself in Marquise's shoes, just as he doesn't know what it was like to grow up under the circumstances I did. I don't know what it was like to grow up as the son of 50 Cent. Certainly on the surface, he had everything he wanted, but there must have been pressures and insecurities from being my son that I can't identify with. I accept that. I still can't see how those pressures and insecurities would force a child to go against his own father, especially a father who has provided everything for him. As I go over our relationship in my mind, the only answer I can come up with is that I actually might have done too much for Marquise. How do you make a privileged child feel deprived or angry? I guess by getting him whatever he wants. Like many kids from his generation, Marquise has always been into sneakers because he's my son. He couldn't just rock any old sneakers either. If a new pair of Jordans came out, he had to have them right away. If Marquise asked for a pair of Jordans on a Monday, his mother would make sure they were on his feet come Tuesday. It still didn't make him happy. Instead of being excited to rock his new pair of Jordans, all Marquise could think about was all the retros that he didn't have, all the different flyaways and colors that weren't in his closet. He should have felt gratification. All he really felt was disappointment. I could not relate. The kid didn't have a job, but somehow wanted to collect $300 sneakers and then still felt unhappy when he actually got them. His entire mindset was alien to me. Family, that is our time. We will be back tomorrow, same time. Read, remember, repeat. Let's get it. The best time of the year is here. Christmas is here. Go get you a grateful book. I just put out a book, family. I'm an author, followed with a journal for 365 days of your writing experience. Hope you guys have a grateful experience.
This time, no accidental. We shine because we special. No Kim, Kali, or Kendall. The others, I ain't forget you. Some stories just isn't mental. I'm loving this instrumental, ayy. I write my life down with a pencil, ayy. Never paid attention, but I should've.